First episode in.
That was good.
It's a freaking movie, man.
That was really good.
90 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, it flowed pretty well.
It moved.
Wow. It's hard because, we've played the video games. You kind of know some of the stuff that's going to unfold.
Yeah.
But it was going to be very interesting to see how HBO, the directors, the writers, were going to bring us into this world. And I really love how they started the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, stayed true to the video game. Anybody who's played it pretty much knows where this is going to go. But they delivered all the stuff that I was hoping they were going to deliver.
Yeah.
They captured, the power from the video game. And it sounds kind of ridiculous for people that are listening to this that don't play video games, but that video game was done so well emotionally and was so character driven.
Yeah.
And the only way this show is going to succeed is if they, do exactly that. And they started off with a bang and, started showed the relationship between father and daughter, between Joel and
Sarah.
And it just went from there. And it did such a good job. It's hard to put into words, but I was blown away. I was so impressed.
I'm glad you brought up the aspect of the video game because we can't assume everybody who's listening played the game or even play video games. But for people who are not in the video game loop, the thing that's made video games so popular over the last 2 decades, right, that's really expanded the media to hit record numbers in sales of video games is because video games have evolved to have in-depth and thought-provoking stories like The Last of Us. It's a giant leap from Super Mario jumping around and going through tubes to save Princess Toadstool, right?
Well, you still get those video games. But
some of the big boy stuff is like, they're like movies. It's like you're literally playing a movie.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that. So to start this episode off, they did like a soft opening, right?
Yeah.
They have like 3 guys in an ABC studio. It's an interview talking about, for a second there, I thought they were talking about COVID. I thought it was a COVID commercial because they're talking about diseases and pandemics and things like that. And one of the doctors who is, he's kind of, when you see him, it's kind of, you're like, I know him from something. He's actually from The Mummy. He was like the brother in The Mummy. John Hannah. He plays a character called Dr. Neiman.
Yeah.
So he breaks down a scenario eerily, and kind of scary as he's developing this. You see the host's face kind of changing. The host is actually
they're first they're making fun of him in a way, like fungi. Like what are you talking about? And they, what kind of LSD are you on? Where are you getting your drugs? Making those comments to him. But
the host is Big Head from Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him in a little while, but
I don't think I've seen him in anything except Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in So, but but like you said, they're making fun of him. But as he kind of is laying down this scenario where the climate of the earth increases and fungi are now mutating where they can inhabit a human body, because the issue was, he was explaining, in the human body as a host, our internal temperature is too hot for a fungus to survive in.
Right.
But as the world's global temperature increases a couple of degrees here or there, they're able to they're going to adapt. They'll mutate and adapt.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes everybody scared because there's nothing you could do to combat a mushroom or a fungus, really, right?
I'll take your word for it. That's
well, not mine. The way he explained it, like the way he explained how it could spread quickly, how it takes over the host, keeps the host alive, manipulates the host, like a puppet master was his analogy kind of situation. It's like, and this is eerily because recently Netflix had a whole run of things on mushrooms, like on fungi. Yeah, and I kind of watched a couple episodes, it's fungus or something that I think we all are really underestimating after watching some of that stuff on Netflix. And obviously that's his whole point.
Right.
So after this, you get the intro, and I thought the intro music and scene, they did it kind of like a Game of Thrones kind of thing where it's like a zoom in and panning out and in, and it's basically a fungus that's spreading.
Yeah.
And it's manipulating like a map. You see, it's like the United States, and then it spreads across.
Right.
You know, it shows you like some of the fungus grows into like a skyscrapers. It's really cool and great sound in there. I know you're a sound guy. I thought the music was eerily great.
The music
impactful.
is great. They're using I believe they're using the same composer from the video game.
Oh yeah.
What is his name?
I could see them doing that. I mean, because the writer are and the director is Craig Mazin, who's also a writer, and the other main writer is Neil Druckmann, who actually created the video game. So
yeah,
you could see a lot of those elements carrying over.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of times when then film, TV, when they adapt something like a comic book or even a video game, they never really stay true to the story. A lot of times they got to like pull elements from different, things they try to think what the audience is going to like more. And I'm glad that they're staying true to the actual source material.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, I can't overstate this enough. The Last of Us franchise, anything that Naughty Dog does actually is so well done. It's so well written, so well produced, and it just makes me excited that watching this first episode I felt like I was playing the game.
Yeah.
And it's a weird feeling to actually...
There's some of the scenes they recreated exactly like the game.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was recreated exactly. But I don't think I've ever felt that way watching an adaptation.
Yeah.
That's the good way to say that. An adaptation of a video game into a television show or a movie.
Yeah.
And I was satisfied with it. Yeah. I don't know if that's just a weird thing. Like, it's just...
Yeah, because most of the time when we see stuff like that, even in movies like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they take their interpretation of things and they tweak it a little bit, and sometimes people are happy about it, sometimes they're not. Like I'm thinking like a video game like Resident Evil, right? Zombies as well. Right. The movies kind of went off completely on their own kind of path. Compared to the game, there were certain things and characters, of course, that you carry over, but it wasn't like it wasn't like you were watching the live action of the actual game, where this looks like that's what they're starting off. So after we see that nice intro, HBO always does a great job with that kind of stuff. I mean, I guess they tell whoever's making their shows, you got to have great intros because their intros are phenomenal, right? And everything they do. You see a one of the main characters of the episode. We open with Sarah in her room waking up. Yeah. Right. And right off the bat, you realize that she is more than just a daughter to Joel. Our protagonist in this story, because
his best friend.
She wakes him up. Yeah, like alarm, it's time to get up. Usually it's the other way around, right? The parents waking up the kid, but obviously she's waking him up. You cut quickly. She's making breakfast for him. So you could see like it's a teenage girl, but she's obviously more responsible than your typical teenage girl, and she's actually Joel is as much dependent upon her as she is because father-daughter's comparison, but she's doing a lot right off the bat. You can already see that. We find out it's Joel's birthday, September 2003.
Sure, right? 36 years old.
36 years old. They're having breakfast. She's still a kid. He finds like a shell in there. I noticed that, in the eggs, but she made him a good breakfast, a birthday breakfast, and they're waiting for Joel's brother to come pick him up for work, and I guess. It's hard for a child to plan an adult's birthday party, right? A birthday, right? So she's obviously trying to create a great birthday atmosphere for him for the day, but he's focused on work and I guess getting a job done during construction in this, right? So she's trying to like lay out, can you get a cake? Because obviously she can't do this kind of stuff on her own. Usually a spouse would help the child create the birthday for the father, right? Right. But obviously she can't.
Yeah, but it's also it's just father-daughter. Yeah. All they have is each other, it seems like, in the house, at least. I mean, obviously, brother Tommy comes in and out and stuff, but they definitely rely on each other to kind of get through the day. And they have like this chemistry about themselves, and they have a routine. Yeah. And it's just I don't know where we're going. They just have a routine.
No, you can see right off the bat that their relationship is very solid because they're cracking jokes at each other. It's a great father-daughter relationship where you can see they're breaking each other's balls if you want to quote unquote, right? They have a great rapport. That's better. They have a great rapport as a father-daughter, right? Yeah. So we're introduced to Tommy, the brother, and as they're driving off to go to work, or even before they drive off to work, the neighbors are kind of like asking why Sarah hasn't come around more often. These are older, it looks like an older couple and their mother. I guess the wife likes to spend time with Sarah, but she reluctantly doesn't want to go, kind of thing, or spend too much time, because I mean she's a teenager. Why does she want to hang out with the older neighbors?
Yeah.
And Joel kind of like is humorously having fun with the fact that he wants her to spend more time there.
Well,
right?
yeah, he knows that she doesn't want to go, so he's just kind of like messing with her, saying, "Oh yeah, I can't make it. I got to go to work, but you know what, Sarah really wants to go over there, so she'll be there
to spend as much time as she wants.
To spend as much
time. Show you that cool dynamic that they have, father-daughter.
Yeah.
And as they're driving away, Tommy comes picking up in the pickup. You see Tommy has a bumper sticker that says, he was former, military, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So obviously he can take care of himself, and definitely you'll find out that Joel can too.
Yeah, but even before, I totally missed this part. She goes upstairs before they even leave, and she goes into Joel's room, pulls out a watch. Looks like the watch that he probably wears. Obviously, he doesn't wear it. It was in a drawer. She pulls some money out there. You think she's stealing the money and the watch for something, right?
Yeah. Turns out that she wanted to get the watch fixed for him for his birthday, and she uses his money to do it. But then, later on, she does tell him, "Hey, here's this present. I got this done for you. I knew you wouldn't do it, so I did it for you." And he asks her where she got the money. It's like, well, I used your money, but I could have stole $60. I only used 20. I put the change back. We're all good.
Yeah. It's the thought that counts, she says.
It's the thought that counts.
And during this whole process of her at school, leaving school, taking the bus, you see things happening in the background that something's going on, right?
Yeah.
There was a scene, she's in class and she notices like a light flickering on her desk, and you see one of the students' hand is twitching, right? Very subtly, hand is twitching.
Oh, I didn't pick that up.
Right?
That had something to do. I just thought that the reflection was just kind of messing with her.
No. His hand's twitching.
I didn't see that.
He's contaminated.
He's cooking. At you.
Right? So
1 point for Max.
That's the first little inkling of something's not right? His hand is twitching really odd. Then she goes to the watch place to fix it, and she's talking to the watchmaker, and the watchmaker like turns his back to go do something, and then you see a cop car, 2 cop cars speed by, then a fire truck, and then SWAT.
SWAT, yeah.
When you see SWAT, it's never a good thing.
Yeah, and then the guy's, I think, wife or daughter,
probably.
She comes out freaking. She comes freaking out, saying, "Hey, you got to leave. We're closing the shop down." He's, what are you talking about? We're supposed to be open until 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Says sorry, got to go, and then kicks Sarah out. She gets the watch, she gets kicked out, and then
she does tell her to go home.
She tells her to go home, but you think for that second she would just ask her like, "Hey, what's going on? What's the problem? Like, why why are you kicking me out right now?" Doesn't say a word. She's kind of like, "All right, I'll leave." That kind of bothered me a little bit.
Yeah. And she does go home.
Yeah.
She at this point,
all of this stuff, by the way, is not, as far as I remember. I haven't played the video game in a couple of years. All this stuff is not in the video game.
Well, one of the things that they said was anything that they add, they're expanding.
No, I love that
thing. Giving you a little more in depth and background to combine the main story, which is great. I don't call it filler, but it's valuable filler because it creates the universe that we're in. Right?
It's more information that you can gather to get more emotional to shit that happens later on.
So now she goes back home, and she goes to the neighbor's place to make cookies or whatnot, and
raisin cookies.
If they're
oatmeal raisin cookies.
Okay, completely off tangent. For me, oatmeal raisin is still top 3 with chocolate chip and Oreos. Those are my 3 go-to. I know a lot of people don't like oatmeal raisin, but there's something about them, especially right out of the oven. Around Christmas, I'm good with oatmeal raisin. I don't know, man. You're giving me this look right now.
I just want you to just remember this conversation, so when your next birthday comes up, what you're gonna get.
Hey, I'm all for it.
All right.
So now, while they're baking this, she goes out to, I guess, their living room to. She's looking at these old DVDs, and the grandmother's in the background. The grandmother is obviously very sickly. She's just in a chair. She doesn't really move or react to anything much.
It looks like it looks like she kind of might have a little bit of dementia going on.
Probably, yeah.
Right.
And we saw her earlier in that morning there, and all of a sudden, without her noticing, the grandmother starts to twitch now. Right? She's twitching around, and Sarah is oblivious to it because the wife, the Adler's wife, calls her to come help her in the kitchen. So she goes into the kitchen, asks to borrow a DVD, packs up the stuff, and she leaves. Now, as she's leaving, their dog is standing there staring at the grandmother. Like, weirdly staring at her like, what the hell's going on, right?
And what do we know about dogs, Max?
Listen, animals, man, they are always the first to know crap is going down.
Yep.
If you have a dog at home and he's barking outside in the backyard, something's back there, something's happening.
Most of the time, it's a squirrel.
It could be a squirrel, yeah.
It's
a gopher. Still something happening.
It's some kind of a cat.
Yeah. Take a quick look. It could be a zombie.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. But animals always know, right? If an animal's going one direction, running fast, go with them because something's going down, right? So, of course, Sarah's oblivious to all this. She just walks out. But as she's walking out, you see like a military flyover. You know, some fighter jets are flying over. I mean, again, red flags pinging up all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Something's going down. Now she goes home and she has the news on, and you can hear in the background they're talking about stuff happening in the city, this, that, and the third. But she's obviously not paying attention. She's a teenager. It's like she's doing some of the work to find out what's going on, but you know, it's passing her.
Yeah, she's in her mind. She's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Joel comes home. You know, he's obviously extremely late. She mentions that because I think he said she was going to be home. I forgot.
He's supposed to be home at 9 o'clock. He's also supposed to bring home his own birthday cake.
His own birthday cake.
That doesn't happen. Shows up at 10. She presents him with the watch.
Yep.
Gives him the whole story about the money.
Yep.
They decided, or she borrowed a movie or DVD from the neighbors. They're going to watch that.
I wish I saw what.
It's a made-up movie.
It is.
It's a made-up movie. I can't remember the name of it.
We'll pull it up on the in-depth episode on Wednesday. We'll look into that more in depth. But yeah.
Yeah, so they sit there, they watch the movie, she falls asleep. Joel gets a phone call from the brother.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in jail again. You got to come get me. It's Friday. I don't want to be here all weekend. So he bails. While she's sleeping, he puts her in the bed, and then he leaves, and then she wakes up.
What time was it? I think you saw it on the clock. It was like 2 in the morning?
It was like 2:15 or something like that. Yeah. She wakes up.
There's lights everywhere.
Yeah, helicopters, stuff flying around, lights flashing. She's looking for her dad. He doesn't even tell her that he's leaving. He doesn't wake her up to say, hey, I'm leaving. Yeah. So she wakes up in a totally different space than when she fell asleep and her dad's missing. So right off the bat, she starts freaking out. She goes downstairs. She's looking for him, turns the TV on. You have the
emergency broadcast
system.
It's finally working.
Yep.
You know, I told you the story during 9/11. Everybody wanted to know why that didn't work. You know, this time it's working. And at least in this world, it's working. So we got that, and then all of a sudden the dog scratches on the door.
Yep,
right?
Dog shows up.
Obviously, the dog goes to somebody she knows, right?
Yeah.
She's now trying to bring the dog back into the Adler's home, the neighbor's home, and the dog wants nothing to do with what's going on.
Not only that, the door is open.
Yeah.
And it's once again, like, I know I have this whole thing. I've had this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Things happen in movies and TV shows that I feel that would not happen in reality.
Not with my kids.
You're trying to drag a dog in there while all this stuff's happening outside. Then she also finds blood when she walks in.
Oh,
that's when you turn around. You go back home. You don't continue on the journey to find out what's happening.
Yeah, this isn't a horror movie where, you know, you're looking to see who's in there. Is it Michael Myers, Jason, or Freddy Krueger? You know what I mean? Like blood on the floor.
Wait, how do you say Freddy Krueger?
Freddy Krueger?
You said Cougar.
Cougar? Like John Cougar Mellencamp?
Freddy Cougar?
Cougar. Freddy Krueger. Kruger. K. What is it? K or Craig? C.
It's a K. Anyways, so she goes inside. She stumbles across
in the kitchen.
Yeah, she stumbles across the
Mr. Adler.
Yeah, and he's freaked out or
bleeding out. He's like bleeding.
He's bleeding out. He's looking towards the other part of the kitchen, and then that's where she sees. The camera pans over, and then you see the dementia grandma. And this is the first time you actually get to see the fungus transformation.
Yes.
She's got, and it was done pretty well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It looks like this fungus coming out of the mouth.
Just feeding.
Yeah. So normally in a zombie apocalyptic movie or TV show, it's a bite, scratch, blood transferred. But this time we're transferring with just fungus
it was kind of
into
gross.
the next. Yeah.
Like
it was pretty freaky.
That intro, I forgot to mention, like watching that intro, like I was getting goosebumps. I was getting chills.
Yeah.
For me, it was like scratching a chalkboard with your nails, like watching that fungus stuff. Like that fungus stuff just gets to me. This whole show is gonna irk me, just like the game, because fungus and stuff like that. Just talking about it, you can see I'm twitching over here.
Right.
So the grandmother really freaked me out right off the bat.
Yeah.
So now she kind of gets the red alert, like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, it took all of that for her to get that red alert to get that.
Because the grandmother's now chasing her, right?
Yeah.
Grandmother's chasing her, and perfect timing. She gets outside, and boom, Joel and Tommy come, right? And right off, like, this is the beginning of the moral dilemmas that start. Like, Tommy has his rifle pointed at Grandma. Grandma's running towards him, and Tommy asks Joel, "What am I doing? Am I putting her down or what?" Like, because he's like hesitating. I mean, it's Granny. You're gonna shoot her?
Yeah.
You know, right? So that's a tough call. And being a soldier, you know, maybe I don't want to get into these in-depth stuff because it's stuff we should be doing on Wednesday. But you know, soldiers, they take orders, right? They don't want to do things on the cuff off them by themselves, right? That's how people get hurt, right? So he's asking his older brother, "Give me the order to drop this lady," or what? And Joel kind of freezes up. He has a wrench in his hand and he smacks the hell out of her.
Yeah, he's got a pipe wrench in his hand. I don't remember him freezing up. He didn't know what he was doing for a quick second. I think he sees red right off the bat if his daughter's getting messed with. And then obviously we don't know what they've seen from their journey from picking up Tommy to all of a sudden getting back to the house. So they already know shit's going down.
Yep.
So they see a crazy, you know, let's just say woman who should have dementia, who's like running up at his daughter. First thing he's thinking of, I need to take this lady out. Let's get the girl. Let's jump in the truck. Let's get the F out of here.
Yeah, after he hits her, he gives her a quick stare. I mean...
Yeah, I mean,
I want to know what's in his mind. We'll talk about that.
Well, he knows her. He knows the family. They've grown up there. Like, they've lived next to each other for a certain amount of years. So it's probably, I'm assuming, the first time he's had to kill anybody that he's... Maybe even kill anybody. But if he has killed people, maybe he was in the army and stuff like that, which we find out all that stuff later.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the first time he had to kill someone that he knew and he cared about.
Yeah, for sure. So now, if we learn anything from Brad Pitt and World War Z, if you stay, you die, you got to move. So they're now ripping around the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And they're leaving, but he's telling all the neighbors, get inside and, you know.
Well, they're not in their car. They got a car. They're good to go. And the whole rest of their traveling moment in the truck, the dilemmas that they have going, you know, they pass a couple with a kid on the side of the road, and Tommy wants to stop. He starts to slow down, and Joel's like, "No, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going." They got a kid. I don't care. We got to go.
Yeah, we got a kid.
We got a kid. We got to go. So he's thinking his number one priority is his daughter. Forget everybody else. Just go. Yeah. And you got to respect that. You do.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take care of your own, as people would say, right? So they're
especially when. Dude, fungus is coming out of people's mouths.
And people are
take care of yourself.
It's chaotic, right? They're driving through town. You see people like crashing, running, attacking each other.
Let's talk about that whole stuff right there. It was done fantastic.
Oh yeah,
it was fantastic. The whole scene with you see her perspective a lot. Which actually
this whole episode, I think, is in her perspective the first 30 minutes.
Sure, but you see her like what she sees in the back seat, looking in between Tommy and Joel.
Yeah,
and that is also from the video game. That happens a lot, and you get to see like everything, you know, that could possibly go wrong happen in this car ride.
Yeah,
there's planes falling out of the sky. That was crazy,
epic. It fell and just it was like a missile. Right. It was like a bomb, and it obviously took the car, like blasted the car out of the way. Everything.
But before that, though, and I meant to talk about this before, is the crowds of people in the street. Right. Yeah. Tommy's slowing down, doesn't want to hit anybody, but Joel's like, "No, you just got to go. You got to go. Get out of here." Yeah. You got to go.
Yeah.
You got to get out of here. So I'm leaving that in. You know what? I'm not even going to cut that out. Everyone gets to deserve to hear your watch.
that was Siri wanted to interject, right?
Right. Well, hold on. She has her own point of view.
Yeah.
But I can't remember like later on down the road, but I would think Joel would remember that.
Yeah.
The fact that he just wanted to go get out of there. Tommy, wants to stay. Like he's still thinking of other people. He's not thinking of himself. He's not thinking of his niece. He's not thinking of his brother.
And Joel is thinking about his daughter right now. Yeah, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, that might be unfair. He is thinking about them, but he's also trying to think of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So now the car crashed off of a plane, literally crashing down, right?
Yeah.
And Sarah hurt her leg, and then out of nowhere, like a vehicle crashes into the van, the truck, and they're kind of like pinned between like a building, and Tommy's on one side, and Joel and Sarah on the other side,
and he's carrying Sarah.
He's carrying Sarah, and they have a plan to let's meet by the river, okay? Because they can't get through to each other because they're kind of like in an alley. Right, Joel and Sarah's in an alley.
Did you think it was a little weird though when they got out of the vehicle and then the other car crashes into the car and Joel's yelling, "Tommy, Tommy." Tommy doesn't say anything. He's just kind of trying to look through the fire.
Yeah,
he's not even yelling to Joel that, "Hey, I'm okay. I'm over here."
Maybe he couldn't hear. That's how because there's a lot of noise. Sure. There's fire kindling. I think he couldn't hear him, and that's when they kind of walked into like line of sight.
I'm being nitpicky.
Maybe he's like, no,
I'm being nitpicky. I know.
You could have saved it for Wednesday, but
I'm being nitpicky. Just move on. Move on.
So now,
fast forward.
So now Joel is carrying Sarah through an alley, and he for I don't know why he stops to look at like somebody basically eating somebody else, right? And the dude pops up and starts to chase them, and it's a chase through like a diner. Was that a diner?
It was a diner, right?
Yeah. Through a diner, and
it was like a 70s diner.
A 70s diner. Maybe it was what's that? Johnny Rockets.
It was Johnny Rockets, maybe.
Right. So he's running,
and I bet you all those little mini jukeboxes don't work.
None of them. He's running through the Johnny Rockets, and now he's in the back of the Johnny Rockets, like running out towards the river.
Yeah.
And the zombie is like right on their tail, and he gets shot. So right now you're thinking, oh, Tommy saved the freaking day.
Yeah.
But it's not Tommy. No. It's a military, it's a soldier.
It's a soldier with a gas mask on.
Yeah. And he calls into, his commanding officer. I have 2 civilians here. They're not infected. Daughter, the girl has a bad ankle.
Right.
And
he doesn't know that they're not infected.
They keep saying that, and he says that to them. He says that in the call.
Does he?
Yeah.
I think all he does is mention that that she has a hurt ankle. I don't think he actually says they're not infected.
When we do the rewatch, we'll find out.
There's no way they can know.
Yeah, they can't know.
They can't know. Yeah.
Well, yeah. We'll see. When we do the rewatch, we'll see if what exactly, and we'll break that down.
We'll see. And then maybe I'll get a point.
Yeah, you'll get the point on that one.
Okay, go.
So now, he's having a conversation that we're not privy to. You just hear his response. You don't hear what his commanding officer is saying, and he's like, "Are you sure? Okay." And now all of a sudden he points the gun at them both.
Yeah. Right? So obviously he got we don't know if they're infected or not.
Just take them out.
You got to execute them. You got for the greater good. You got to take them out.
Not to go too deep in here. This is the first sign that this government regime is going to be pretty rough, right? That they're willing to not even check to see if anybody is infected. Just take them out.
Yeah.
That's the first little inkling that this, government is kind of hardcore, right?
Yeah.
Before we even get into that,
we
right?
can go into that moral debate later.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to make the hard choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't ever want to make that choice, and I hope let's just move on to the next thing.
Yeah. So now he lets go a couple of shots, right? Real quick. And then he gets shot. And now Tommy comes, right?
So the soldier guy shoots twice. And obviously Joel gets hit because Joel drops Sarah, falls to the ground. I think he's trying to get out of the way, or he's trying to move while he gets shot. And so they kind of looks like they fell down a little bit of a hill.
Yeah.
I'm not really too sure.
Yeah.
Then the soldier comes up, like he's about to shoot him. Then boom, Tommy comes out of nowhere, saves the day.
Yep.
If he'd have just found a little bit more of a shortcut,
Yeah, he went the long way. They went through the Johnny Rockets.
Yeah. And then he had to move all the furniture around just to get out there.
Because the soldier's about to shoot his brother. He kills him, right? And now Joel's hurt, but not, he's wounded, but not, fatal.
Yeah, it looks like it grazed him, actually.
Yeah, right? And then Tommy's like, oh, no. And they look over to Sarah. Great scene. The actress, Nico Parker, did a great job in these first 35 minutes.
Oh, she was phenomenal.
Yeah.
She was very good. And
it was touching how they had her die.
I can't stand seeing kids die on screen. Yeah. And even when I played the game the first time, even when that happened, that was emotional. And I even knew that this was going to happen this time, and it still hit me.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Sarah literally dies in Joel's arms. He's trying, like, she's breathing, frantically, and he shouts out, like, Tommy, help me.
And Tommy knows.
He sees it, because at that moment when he yells out, Tommy, help me, she passes.
She dies. He's sitting there he's holding her stomach, telling her, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. He tries to move her. She doesn't even want to be moved. It's obviously
extremely emotional.
Yeah, it's
tearjerker.
And I know I talked about this when we did our first, introduction episode, about how important it was going to be for Joel from, what's his name?
Who? Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, it was so important for him to nail that scene.
Yeah,
I didn't say what specific scene for the people that hadn't watched that, haven't played the game, didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah,
but that was one of the scenes that had to be nailed, and he did such a phenomenal job. At that, and so did what's her name playing Sarah? Like
Nico Parker.
Yeah, they were both.
She was great.
Really good. You're gonna have to help me with names, man,
because I
don't even know.
I know that's not your thing.
I don't even know yours.
Max. No.
Daryl. Yeah.
I'll butcher people's names if I don't pronounce it right, but at least I'll give it.
I'm gonna lean on you for that.
The college try, right?
But it was so good, and then obviously that relationship, or from that tragic tragedy that happened to him, that plays a huge part in obviously events that unfold later on in following episodes. Yeah. So now we do a time jump.
Yeah, time jump, 20 years.
Yeah, and you get a general idea. Now you're going to see what kind of happened to that government that you were saying. You got to make those hard choices.
Yeah.
Maybe I said that.
I think one of the things I'm most excited to see with this show is how the landscape, because, this is not a major spoiler. This is a trek across the United States, right? You see a lot of different areas, and right now, they fast forward. Joel, Tommy, and Sarah, they were in Austin, Texas, right? It was 2003. Now to fast forward 20 years, it's 2023, and they're and they show you Boston, and obviously a lot of overgrown vegetation. You see a child walking through, heading towards like a fortified Boston, walls up, like walls of Jericho are up.
Yeah, right? It looks like they got a government military protection and stuff. Yeah,
it's a quarantine zone.
Yep.
The little girl goes in. She goes through, quote unquote, for my wife, a triage kind of scenario where they ask her some questions. Where'd you get this scar? They test her, and they have this little handheld tester. It looks like a little scan gun. They click or prick you, and it goes red. Red is never good in anything, right?
Yeah, and then the female soldier that's interviewing her says, like you can sense that she goes into comfort mode. She wants to
ease her passing.
Like this isn't the first time this has happened to her. Of course, she's had to do this multiple times, so she kind of has a routine in her head where I'm going to comfort this person because I know this is going to be the last thing that this person's ever going to see is going to be my face. So I'm going to make sure that
another soldier comes and gives her a shot, euthanizes her pretty much. I'm assuming that's how they're doing it.
Well, we assume it, yeah. And then fast forward into the next scene, you see a bunch of people just dropping bodies in this giant bonfire.
Yeah, burning bodies,
giant cremation going on, and then all of a sudden another truck shows up, opens the back door, and then there's a woman's there to grab a body, and then she can't do it. So she looks to her partner. It turns out to be Joel. It's the first time we see Joel 20 years later, and it's that kid. Yeah, and Joel has to pick up that kid.
Yeah.
And throw that kid into the fire.
And he does it kind of extremely cold, like he was throwing out garbage. Like, no emotion. Obviously, the girl can't throw a child's body into the fire.
Right.
But he just picks up the body and he walks over just drops it in. So right off the bat, you realize, oh, Joel's obviously a changed man, right?
He's absolutely a changed man. I don't know how you wouldn't be a changed man after that.
Yeah.
Your daughter dies in your hands, in your arms, and you get to you see all that stuff happen. Like you see the life go out. There's no way you would be the same person. Yeah. And I don't know how you would have any emotional connection after that with anybody else.
And the job he's doing, he's literally burning bodies. Like it's not the most ideal job you want in a apocalyptic world, right? And then he goes on a line to get, I guess, next day's work, and he's doing the crappiest jobs. He's gonna go clean the sewers to get the most money. He doesn't give a damn anymore. He's like,
well, he's on a mission. We find out later he's trying to gather all that money up because he has another agenda, which is, he's trying to find his brother, trying to get to his brother. He knows his brother's in trouble.
Yeah,
he needs the money to go. Help him.
Then you see him walking away, and they're doing like a public execution for people who've broken either curfew or they've left the wall or whatever.
People that left the wall came back, and then other
Hangings.
people other people. Well,
what kind of world is this, man?
Hey, those people that could bring the virus in, and then shit happens.
So again, you see the cold and rough government of Frida that's installed here. That like if you leave the quarantine zone, it's punishable by death.
Hey, don't make me pick a side, Max. Don't make me pick a side.
That's pretty rough. I mean,
it's rough. It's rough for sure. At the same time, seeing all this stuff, I wouldn't want to go outside the walls.
Yeah. Right. And we start seeing inklings. You see a lot of graffiti of Firefly things, comments written in graffiti. If you
something like "Go towards the light," or "The light will be there for you."
Yeah, when you're lost in the darkness, head towards the light. Kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And Joel has a meeting with a shady military officer. They're like exchanging cigarettes and information, pills, and stuff and he's gathering information and things for like a job kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
And he warns him, do not try to stay off the streets at night because the Fireflies, the rebellion, have been very active. So the military is basically shooting sight on scene at night because they don't want any more drama with them, right?
Right.
So he finishes having this meeting. He goes to, I guess, his home.
Yeah, he goes to his apartment.
Yeah, has a stash hidden in the floorboards. He, literally takes some stuff out, puts stuff in. Alcohol, pills, bed. This is a broken man, obviously, right?
Yeah, this is when, he's at that point in his life where sleep time is the best time.
Yeah.
You get to shut down your mind, shut down all the bad, memories and just sleep it off.
Yeah. So now Joel's point of view, he's there. And in this time frame, we get a glimpse of Ellie. She's locked up in some chains. Someone walks in, gives her an administrator a test, like a counting test, count to 10 slowly. And, she does it extremely sarcastically and yells out like, you guys can't hold me here. Someone's going to come for me kind of thing. And then you just leave it like that. Just a little glimpse of her. Right. Now we're introduced to Tess. She's in a chair. She's kind of got a black eye, bloodied up, and she's talking to a shady character she obviously does business with. Her goons roughed her up for a battery, I guess. She was buying a battery from this shady character.
Right.
Was it Robert? I believe it was Robert.
I think it was Robert, yeah.
And Robert...
It's not going to matter.
You would think Robert has hand, right? Like he has her, two goons are standing behind, and he's literally scared. He's trying to convince her and apologizing for the goons roughing her up because she's afraid of her man.
He's afraid of her. Yeah. Joel's his girl, or Joel is her boyfriend. And apparently Joel has a reputation for
violence.
A lot of violence.
So she's literally like, listen, I promise you, let's just walk away. I'll convince Joel not to retaliate on you, kind of situation. Like she's trying to calm it down. And as this is unfolding, an explosion happens, kills the chumps behind her.
Right.
You don't see where Robert goes. He was like kind of off to the side of where the explosion was.
I didn't pick that up.
He was kind of like in a hallway in like like an archway.
Yeah.
We can look at, when we rewatch it, we'll see where exactly he was.
You're right. I mean, I didn't put two and two together the first time I saw it.
He was pacing back and forth.
Yeah, but when she looks at the chair on the ground, for some reason, I don't know why, I was thinking that she was thinking that she was sitting in that chair, and that the explosion could have killed her.
Yeah.
But you're right. I read that scene completely wrong.
Yeah. So now she climbs out of that brownstone that they were in. It looked like they were in the basement, and she sees it was a military vehicle that got destroyed.
It got bombed. Yeah.
Bombed. She hits around the corner and she sees the military running. There's a Firefly sniper shooting from a building, and then she mistakenly gets kind of arrested because they don't know if she's involved. Right.
Right.
She keeps yelling, I'm not a Firefly.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Now, fast forward, it's night. Joel's still in bed. She finally comes in.
She comes home.
Lays in bed. Joel wakes up. She's making breakfast.
Yep.
Now he sees her face.
Yeah.
Like jacked up. And, he's already hot.
Yeah.
Like, you can see he has a temper issue, right? He's hot, and she's like explaining to her it was the teenagers' goons, but it was Robert's goons, and the battery we were buying for him to obviously power a truck so they can leave.
To go find Tommy.
She sold it. He sold it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So now they're going to go find out who he sold it to so they can go get it back.
Right.
Right.
Let's not forget, though, she's telling him to be calm.
Yeah.
You can't go out there like a lunatic.
Yeah.
You have to. So obviously he's
the muscle.
He's known for, kicking some ass and taking some names later.
Yeah.
So, but she doesn't want him to scare anybody away. Yeah. So he's got to go out there in a nice, calmly manner while she can go have conversations with other people to go find out where Robert is or who Robert sold the battery to.
Yeah.
Which that's actually what she ends up finding out. So then they can go get that battery.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if it was before he went to bed or during this day. You see Joel actually go to a place where I guess people are sending messages to their loved ones through the radio or through transistor.
Yeah, that is important.
He talks to the guy to see if Tommy has responded to, and he hasn't.
Yeah.
So, he's a little worried, and he finds out where's the satellite station, and it's in Wyoming, and he gets the address from her. Actually, it was before, because before he has his alcohol and pill session.
It was before.
You see him mapping out a course. After he takes his drinks, he's mapping out a course from Boston to Wyoming, kind of thing.
Well, right? He pounds 3 drinks, pounds some pills, and then he falls asleep. Well,
But
while he's doing that, that's what he's doing. He's doing the math, and that is very important because obviously later on he's got an agenda. Yeah,
so you see he still cares for his brother, obviously, and he's worried for his brother. It still is probably his only family left in this crazy world, 20 years, right?
Right.
So now you see Tess negotiating with somebody, and she finds out where he sold the battery to. Yeah,
so now you get to see their little adventure to get there. Yeah. They end up going through an abandoned I don't know, building.
Yeah, go to a sewer.
Yeah, they go to did they go through a sewer?
Yeah, briefly.
Yeah. Anyways, they end up in some room. They actually see
gross.
I guess a person that was exposed to the fungus.
Yeah.
But I guess you get to see what happens
it's
afterwards.
Part of the scenery.
Yeah, so it's not like, it's not like zombies and Walking Dead or any of the other stuff where they just keep going forever.
Yeah.
These infected actually end up at some point, they end up dying.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like imprint themselves into the walls.
He was part of the wall.
It's part of the scenery, yeah.
And I guess the
decoration.
I don't know if the fungus is still alive, a part of the wall.
It didn't seem like they were worried about it because they got really close to it.
Yeah,
so,
they did.
And I thought that was a little weird.
Yeah.
You would think, or they just know more than we do. Let's just say
at
that.
This point, right? So they go through. It's funny. They're climbing through the back end of a building, like the inside wall, and he's commenting about the structure and how they were building things in the 80s. So the old Joel is still somewhere in there, right? And she makes a joke about. It's like Home Improvement by Joel kind of thing, right? So they finally get to where they're going, and she's like, here's the doorway to get in, but she can't like open it up.
Right.
And then he's like, I smell gunpowder.
And then blood comes in underneath the door.
They finally push open the door, and they're in the hallway of the Firefly building.
Yeah, where Ellie's being held.
Yeah. And Robert has a bullet in his head. He's on the floor, and some of his goons are dead, and some of the other Fireflies are also dead in the hallway. It was obviously a gunfight.
And then she finds the battery. It turns out the battery was dead anyways.
Yeah.
So he was trying to sell another he was trying to sell the same battery that was dead to somebody else.
Yeah. Now, before this happened, we kind of skipped this part. We are introduced to Marlene, who's the leader of the Firefly Resistance in Boston.
Important character.
A very important character. And you know, her lieutenants are questioning what they're doing right now, and she basically explains to them that she's getting the government to be in one area, so they're not where they are, so they can all escape tonight. They're all leaving the quarantine zone that night,
and their main mission is to take Ellie out of quarantine and take her to another destination.
Exactly.
And then, but you still don't know. You still don't know why.
You don't know why.
Yeah.
And Marlene actually has a conversation with Ellie, where she obviously explains to her, like, she says, like, I obviously she's known her for her whole life, because she's like, I grew up in, you know, the military foster care kind of thing, and she's like, I'm the one that put you there. She knew her real name because Ellie was giving them a fake name. I think it was like Veronica or Vicky or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So she obviously, so Ellie realizes that Marlene knows a lot about her. Right. Doesn't know why. She knows a lot about her. She jokingly says, "Are you my mother?" Right? She's like, "Do I look like your mother?"
Right.
I'm like, no, right? So she basically tells her, like, obviously there's something bigger in play, but we don't see what that conversation ends. Right?
How old is Ellie supposed to be?
I think she's like 13, 14.
So 14. So she didn't say how old she was when she got put into that foster care system.
She did. She says as a baby. She's like, I was put in there very young.
So Marlene says that she put her there to protect her because it was the safest place to put her.
Yeah.
So
because that foster care is where they train them to be soldiers.
Right. But do you think that she knew as she like do you think that she knew how special Ellie was when she was a baby? That's the reason why she put her there? Or was there some kind of a family connection? I actually don't remember that part.
Yeah. Well, at this point, we don't even know why. We still don't.
We don't know why. We will find out at some point.
Yeah,
but,
like why she's special.
But to know that when she was a baby seems a little far-fetched.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something else I can't remember, which is good. I'm glad there's some other things.
I do remember, but let's let it unfold naturally.
Keep it to yourself.
As the episode, no spoilers, no long-term spoilers here, right? Only the episode recap this time around.
Right.
So we've had this point now. So now
let's jump back to, you know, they enter the hallway, see all the dead bodies.
All these characters are now converging, right?
Yeah. So now you got Joel, and then you have
Tessa.
Tessa. They're in a hallway with Marlene, and then I can't remember her second in command's name.
Yeah.
But she's got her earshot off.
Yeah, Kim got her earshot off.
So they're having a conversation. You know, no one's trying to shoot each other.
Ellie jumps out of the room with a knife.
Ellie jumps out of the room with a knife. Joel, this is the first time that Joel sees Ellie.
Yeah.
And, you know,
he flings her to the wall.
Takes her down real fast, takes the knife, steps on it, and, you know, they have a little bit of words and exchange.
Yeah.
And, you know, somehow in that entire scene in the hallway, Joel and Tess get commissioned to take, you know, Ellie.
Yeah, because Marlene's shot.
Marlene's shot. She's not going anywhere. Their whole crew's dead. Yeah. And then you've got, you know, missing ear Kim. Yeah. She's not going anywhere.
Nope.
So they make a deal.
And the federales are on their way.
Right.
You know, so it's like, you gotta take her now.
Yeah, you gotta take her now. So it basically says, if you take her to this destination, then when you get there, my people will have a truck, fully fueled up, ready to go, so you can go find your brother Tommy, because they know they're monitoring the airwaves. They know that Joel's trying to get to Tommy.
Yeah.
Hey, we can get you there, but first you got to do us this favor. You got to take her out of quarantine to the destination.
Yeah.
They talk about it for a second, realize, hey, that's really their best option.
It's not a bad deal.
And then they're on the move.
Yeah. Now you fast forward and they bring Ellie to Joel's and Tessa's place.
Yeah.
Joel and Tessa are outside. They're having a conversation. Ellie, as a typical teenager, curious, starts snooping around, finds a book of top songs, I guess, of all time. And she finds a piece of paper. It's like a code thing. We'll talk about it more on Wednesday.
Yeah.
It says BF, and we gotta have to freeze frame and see exactly what everything said. But there was a big X next to 80s.
Well, it was
You remember it?
Yeah, 60.
Oh, you're about to get a lot of points
I
here?
think so. 60, everything's okay. 70,
you got
I'm
one.
not
I'll
sure,
give you a point.
but 80, there's an X.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't know what the X means.
Yeah.
When Joel comes in, Joel's mad that she's going through his stuff.
Yeah.
She asks him, what does 80's X mean? And he doesn't respond. He just, lays down on the couch like he's taking a nap. She gets mad. What are you doing? Hey, I'm just trying to kill some time.
Yeah.
And then passes out.
It's not time for the extraction yet.
Not yet. And
Yeah.
then a little bit of a time jump. All of a sudden it's night, wakes up,
Yeah.
and she says that you're mumbling in your sleep. By the way, the radio came on.
Yeah.
What song played? I don't know, some song from the 80s.
Yeah. Do you remember the song? Wake me up before you go. Yeah, a little what was that movie? The models, Ben Stiller.
No.
Zoolander.
No song actually came on.
No, but that's what she hummed to him.
Oh, is that what she hummed?
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
man.
like she played dumb, like, oh, some song came on. It was like, wake me up before you go.
How did he catch it? Another point for you.
Man. That's why we do a recap. We rewatch and we go in depth in episode 2, or not episode 2, but
We're doing
Wednesday
the
podcast.
important things for you, listener, so that way you feel
So
like
now,
you have all the knowledge.
Joel reacts to that negatively, and she's like, code is broken. 80s means bad.
Yeah.
Right? Something's bad. But it's all, obviously, it's fake. She's just playing with him to try to figure it out. So she's pretty clever on her own right there, right?
Yeah, she's clever.
Yeah. So now they're starting their trek through to get out of the quarantine zone, the three of them, Tess, Joel, and Ellie.
Yeah. And so looks like they go through like a little sewer section.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they're on the other side.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly, actually.
Yeah. They get outside.
So
They obviously done it before.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to get caught, because you see what happens to get caught earlier. They get hung.
So two things bother me with this scene. Right off the bat, Ellie stands up like, oh my God, this is the first time I've been outside the wall. Where you would think before they got outside, they would have said, hey, when we get outside, stay low. They've got searchlights. We don't want to be found out.
Snipers.
So that's mistake number 1.
Yeah.
Mistake number 2 is when they come out this corner, there's clearly a guy pissing on the wall. Yeah. Clearly. And neither one of them look left. You'd think that someone would look and make sure everything's clear, but they all just kind of stumble out like they just left the club. Like, oh, here we go. Still don't see the guy and continue to walk.
Yeah.
And then, the guy zips up his pants, turns around, grabs his gun, says, hey.
And conveniently.
Could have been totally
easily avoided.
If someone would have just looked left. I mean, that just bothered me.
That soldier, conveniently, he's dubbed as Lee. The character is called Lee, is the shady officer that Joel was doing business with. And so right off the bat, they're like, hey, let's calm down. And he Lee, the officer, he's kind of like, I told you guys not to be out here. Now I have to go by the book, quote unquote, right?
Right.
And they're like negotiating with him, like, listen, we're doing this run. We'll split it with you 50%. Then it escalates. The guy's like, get on your knees. He's going to test them to see if they're infected. He's like, I got to do this by the book. Hits Tess, she's green. Hits Joel, he's green. Gets to Ellie, scans her.
She freaks out.
She grabs her knife, stabs him. Almost, where did he stab her? The thigh?
It was the thigh. It was the side of the thigh. It wasn't in there. It wasn't
pretty close to the jewels, man. So now he pops up, points the gun at Joel, the same gun with the light, and he has like a moment right there. He's envisioning the scenario with his daughter, and he loses his ish. I mean, he jumps on him and he starts pounding his face in like he's punching him Jon Snow, Ramsay Bolton style, like just pounding his face in, kills the guy.
Yeah, and Ellie has this, we don't know for sure, I'm assuming.
Well, we haven't seen it yet.
But Ellie has this weird look on her face, like she's kind of, good for you. She doesn't.
She's intrigued by it. She walks closer and to get a better view.
Yeah, she doesn't look horrified at all.
No, she actually like walks towards the side. That's a very good catch by you. Point right there.
Boom.
She walks like into a better line of sight so she can view him pounding this guy's face in.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, he finally gets up. He's kind of like sort of shocked what he just did.
Right.
And Tessa picks up the scanner and it's freaking red.
Yeah.
She's now spazzing out. She's like, Joel, look at this. What the hell?
She's infected. Yep.
Yeah. Ellie's like, no. And now she finally pulls up her arm, shows that she's been bitten, and it's
fully healed.
Fully healed.
Yeah.
She's like, I was bitten 3 weeks ago, and you usually turn, I think she said in a day or two.
Yeah.
And I haven't turned 3 weeks.
Right.
You know, and Joel's still kind of trying to grasp what he just did.
Yeah.
Tessa's freaking out, and they got to go because, you know, the military is approaching. Right. And they get through a fence and straight to black. Episode 1 in the books.
No, not straight to black.
What happened?
Then you see inside Joel's apartment, the radio does go on.
Oh, excellent.
And then it does play an 80s song. It was Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
And what was the name of the song?
What was the song?
I told you what the name of the song was.
I kind of forgot the name of the song, bro.
You didn't remember? You don't remember the name of the song?
No.
I don't remember either. Hold on. I had it saved on my Shazam. I should have known it. And
you know, I never heard of the bank. It's Never Let Me Down Again. That's the name of the song.
Yeah, and it came out in 86 that we discovered, right?
It was actually 1987. Came out.
Whatever. Anyways, so it ends like that. So now we know that
that's trouble.
They're going to where trouble is. Joel or Tommy's in. We're assuming
they show you the city. Actually, they show you like the buildings, thunder, and then it cuts to black.
Yeah,
I want my point back.
Sure, whatever. All right. Well, look. Overall,
great first episode. It was 90 minutes.
It was definitely. It was probably, I would say, one of the top. I guess we can call it a pilot. Even though we know first episode of pretty much, it's up there with the top series that I can think of.
It was a very.
It felt like a movie. It was 90 minutes. It didn't quite give you the closure you would hope a movie would get because it's a television show. It wants you to tune in for the next episode. But the production was great. The atmosphere was great. The acting was great. The directing was great. Music's phenomenal.
And you know, a lot of times when you get a new show, first episode, I hate when shows bombard you with a ton of characters and a ton of names. This one kind of didn't do too much of that. Like for example, Game of Thrones episode 1, there's like 50 characters they're throwing at you, and you're like, who the hell is this, that, and the third, right? You got to rewatch it 4 times to get everybody on the thing.
Yeah, well, right? Game of Thrones, I couldn't watch weekly. I couldn't do it. I had to wait until all the episodes from that season were done, so I could binge watch it.
Yeah.
So that way, like
things connected.
Because things that would happen in like the second episode, they wouldn't even get back to it till like the 4th episode or the 5th episode.
You would forget it.
By the time a month had passed, what? I don't even. Who's this guy? I have no idea.
Yeah, so many characters, but they had a good amount of characters. But there were a lot. The core characters were prevalent a lot, and then there was just a bunch of little auxiliary characters that you didn't really need to know their names because half of them die.
Well, in a nutshell,
solid first episode.
Everything I was hoping that would happen as far as the acting, the character development,
very emotional,
the relationships. I mean, we haven't still seen that Joel and Ellie relationship yet because it's starting off fairly new. But the relationship that you saw with his daughter, Sarah, was so important, and it was delivered so well. And
I appreciated that.
It was done great. If you didn't have an emotional connection to his daughter before she died, then I don't want to know you.
They spent the first 30 minutes, like we talked about, in her perspective. I know we'll talk more in depth than that, but it created that you have to understand his pain and his loss, right? So they spent time, because you probably couldn't have done that in 60 minutes or 45 minutes. That's why this episode was 90 minutes, because they needed to dedicate the appropriate time for that, and I appreciated them for that. That's why it was a great first episode. I can't wait to watch episode 2, and I can't wait to do our second podcast on this on Wednesday, where we go even more in depth on this, and we really dissect some of the things that we saw, some of the Easter eggs, and all kinds of different things tying into the games. Really more character analyzing, performance by Nico Parker. I think we're going to spend a little time on that because it was 30 minutes, but it was a phenomenal 30 minutes, and there was a lot in there that definitely want to discuss, especially the dynamic between her and Joel. Yeah,
she did such a great job. She definitely deserves more time to be discussed and kind of dive into her. I mean, I think we should I would like to look and see what else she has, what she's done in the past, and what she's got coming up, because I mean, she did such a good job.
Yeah,
such a good job.
She did. And I definitely want to talk more about the government, ask ourselves some questions on what we would do. I definitely want to approach, the stuff about if something like that happened, how would we react when it's time to, with our families, right?
Yeah.
And then we need to do a deep dive on Joel himself too, post, the Sarah incident.
Yeah.
All that on Wednesday.
I love post-apocalyptic movies and shows and video games. I love it. I don't know what it is, but I just love it. And so I love to tell you my plan because I've had the same plan for probably 10 years.
Yeah.
And I would like to invite you into my plan. Oh, we can talk about it later.
We'll talk about it on Wednesday.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this and listening to our real first podcast of The Last of Us. Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed what you're hearing. I hope you stick with us through this show and future shows. And if you want to send us a message to, point out some stuff that you saw in this episode, so maybe we'll bring it up into our podcast on Wednesday. Any comments, anything, please, Patreon.
Yeah,
go to Patreon and send us a message, and we'll try to discuss it. Once again, thank you so much. And
information will be in the bottom of this episode for more. And if you hadn't gotten a chance to listen to we had an episode where we broke down the initial trailer, where we did a little character bio breakdown.
Yeah.
Great piece before you listen to this episode or even watch the show, so you can go back and listen to that. But we'll be doing weekly episodes pretty much the night they drop. The recaps are going to be fresh in our minds because we're going to go right after we watch it.
Yep.
And then Wednesdays will be our more in-depth and analyzing and feedback episodes. So it was great.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. And hopefully you'll hear from us soon.
Yeah.
Bye. Intro music composed by Kyle Torme. Outro music and bed music composed by Jason Zaffrey. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Last of Us, a Rot Your Brain podcast. Subscribe to The Last of Us podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Last of Us. Follow us on Twitter at rot_yourbrain and support Rot Your Brain Media and its podcast by being a part of this exciting new and growing community. Visit patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.